As you might have picked up from the last slide, Google and Bing's Webmaster tool plays an important role in SEO. These tools provide a wealth of information that both search engines gather about your domain. I've already talked about how you can see what links Google and Bing find broken. They also show what sites are linking to you, the keywords you are ranking on, and quite a bit more. Even though I'm not a fan of giving Bing and Google privileged information about my domain, what I get in return helps me be a smarter marketer. So to get started, both engines require that you verify your own domain. In order to do this, you will need to have control of the domain, since both Google and Bing mandate that you either upload an HTML file, add an HTML tag, or add a CNAME record to your DNS. With Google, you can also verify by using your Google Analytics, which Google prefers. Next, I recommend sharing your domain's geographic targeted focus. As mentioned on the previous slide, Bing verifies your geographic location with other metrics that are not part of their Webmaster tool. With Google, you need to go to Configuration and Settings. There, Google asks where you will want to target users and provides you with a drop-down list of countries. Google only permits one country to be targeted. While in the Settings section of Google Webmaster, it is helpful to also establish your preferred domain. By determining your preferred domain, you are basically telling Google what the root domain should be for a website. For example, as I mentioned a few slides earlier, I have set up HerbalDoc's root domain to be www.herbaldoc.com. This is the domain I want Google to see. However, more commonly, webmasters are telling Google to choose between the www or non-www of a domain. Unfortunately, Bing doesn't provide this service, and instead allows its bots to determine how to display your domain, which is annoying, but most web hosts will allow you to establish your preferred domain settings at a server level, and the search engines will accept this direction as well. The next step is fairly important, and that is adding the sitemap. There are two types of sitemaps. The first type of sitemap is where you have a web page that shows a link directory of your website's pages. Here is Microsoft's sitemap that is much more like a link directory that is found on their website, and it is used to guide users through their massive site. The second type of sitemap is an XML sitemap. Here is one of many of Microsoft's XML sitemaps. Instead of being a directory for real users, an XML sitemap shows search bots where the domain content is located and what has recently been updated. A good sitemap will help speed up the process in being found in the search engines. Most content management and blogging systems like Joomla and WordPress automatically build an XML sitemap for you. To add an XML sitemap to Google, you must go to the Optimization tab in the Webmaster tools and select the sitemap option. Bing, on the other hand, asks for your XML sitemap when you're verifying your domain. An easy way to find a sitemap is to look at the root of your domain. For example, here is HerbalDoc's sitemap. Once you locate your sitemap, you will add the URL to the Webmaster tool. If you do not have an XML sitemap, there are plenty of XML generators online. One that I recommend is XMLSitemaps.com. Adding an XML sitemap will help the search engines find you. However, if you have just added a new URL to your site, or a page has significantly changed since the last time it was crawled by the search engines, you can ask Google and/or Bing to crawl it. With Bing, you need to go to the dashboard, then Configure My Site, and select Submit URLs. There you can add up to 50 new URLs a month. To do the same process in Google Webmaster is a bit more cryptic. You will need to go to the Health and then Fetch as Google. You will also see on that same page a dialog box that allows you to choose instead to submit a URL and all its linked pages. When submitting URLs with all linked pages, the limit is 10 submissions per month. These are all the basic steps I go through when setting up a new domain. However, one last thing to consider with Bing is their SEO Analyzer tool. I would take advantage of receiving helpful SEO tips from a major search engine.